I'm waiting.
I have a screenshot from the game somewhere here.
I was gonna say, like, where's my early access
There you have it. So
key
I at least
for
have
Arc?
something
Nice.
from the game. That's all I could grab. I stole
You,
that from you guys.
I was gonna say, Marcus, does that mean you have early access to Arc? Because I haven't got early access. I want early access to
No,
Arc.
the only thing I have early access to is the YouTube video. Unfortunately.
I want it. Okay, cool. All right, let's get stuck in. We'll have some chats. Yeah, I will start things off with an apology. I was meant to cut a release last month. But we had our promo process and it just totally destroyed me.
You're going for promo?
Yeah, I'm going for promo. I'm going for like L7 or something silly. So
nice.
That just literally took up my month. Because
just so you know, we have something called perf season, and the kind of peak of perf season is promo season. Essentially, when perf is basically things we do 2 times a year, and basically is a way to tell your manager how excellent you are. And if you go for promo, you're basically trying to level up in the system, and that's quite a lot of work for you as well to create your own package.
It's a bit of a creative writing exercise. It takes a while, and there's a lot of work. Anyway, I have my packet in now, which is good.
Good for you.
We'll have. I'm sure I'll have a bunch of peer reviewers, but like my time will have now opened up a lot more, which will be lovely. So my apologies for that. I was going to talk about this, but you know what, Aaron, why don't you go first, because it might impact the second part if there's stuff we want to make.
Yeah, I can go over, and like, don't worry about this stuff. It just gave me time to try and fix all the stuff before the release was cut anyway. So
everyone wins.
So we've been making changes to we've been trying to fulfill a change, which is currently the management server. It is the way it's written is too hard coded. Essentially just supports 3 filters with like 3 specific configurations, but we want to now have it so that it supports sort of any filter. Like you can give any configuration. There's an issue for it.
I've got a draft PR. I'm looking at what, 494. Oh, 46. Yes. The issue.
The socket API is sort of tangentially related. It sort of came out from this because I've been trying to do this, but it takes me a bit because I'm learning Go and stuff, and so like doing all this stuff is a bit difficult. But like the thing I found the most difficult out of the whole thing was just having a test where, okay, I spin up Quilkin, it connects to the management server, I make a change on the management server end that changes the filter chain, and then I can see on the Quilkin side, hey, that filter has changed, so I can have a successful test that runs the full change. And so that's what I wanted to have was, okay, that I can call the management server, run Quilkin, and see the change. And I sort of brought out this Quilkin socket API, which is kind of inspired from Andy's version of the UE4 plugin, where it's a client. And so the idea from the socket API is that essentially separating out the Quilkinness of the networking layer, like having the filters and the session and everything into its own socket-like design, just like it was a UDP socket that you could use in any situation. But it doesn't handle, for example, spinning up an admin server or some of the other stuff that the binary does, so that it can be used for a client-side situation, as well as like right now, you in order to set up the management server, you have to do a bit of stuff, but this lets you just have the socket connect to it directly, and then just check in the socket, hey, has the filters in this socket changed? Yes or no? So instead of having to like write a custom test path or anything like that we would have to do currently, this would actually provide an API that would let you see into the socket as it's going along. And so you can pull out the data, so you can be like, okay, this is the current set of clusters that's connected to. the filter chain it's connected to, without having to do a bunch of message passing, essentially. Does that make sense?
I don't know what
So
you mean
far?
by socket API. Like, are you saying like you're sending a UDP packet or something?
No, so like like if you think like in Rust you have the UDP socket type.
Right.
This is simply a layer on top of that. That's called like Quilkin socket.
Oh, okay. So it's a new.
and it
You're
has,
adding
like-
like a new type to the system, is what we're saying.
Mhm.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Essentially, it's like it's splitting a bunch of the stuff that's currently in the proxy server into its own type that can be used separately.
Gotcha.
So like,
sorry. Yeah.
and you like the main two things, like you can we don't have to go through the actual commit, but like it has like a send and receive, so you can have it so that it's like, okay, get me a packet, and that will be like the next packet that actually successfully goes through all of Quilkin. So that includes like actually successfully getting to the computer and successfully going through all the filters and stuff like that.
I think I understand. And that's useful because it's it makes testing easier.
Well, yeah, but testing easier, and I think this will be like there's usefulness in the future. For example, if we want to expand out this UE4 plugin, we're going to need, and if we want to have other engine plugins, we're going to start having a lot of Quilkin clients that we need to maintain. And this Quilkin socket is essentially a Quilkin client, but it's written in Rust, and we can actually use this as like the standard API to compare the clients against, so that we can run and see, okay, does the Unreal Client 4 plugin work? We just test that by running the Rust one and then the UE4 one, and making sure that they both work. Does that make sense?
So you could do like a side by side comparison. You could be like, do this stuff with this configuration, blip, and then you go do this stuff with the UE4 stuff. Blip,
yeah, exactly.
And does it do the same thing? Got it. Okay, gotcha. It becomes the standard. And
like,
go on.
If you think about it, you could just have like the way you do that is through like having a C FFI. So we would just have like a Quilkin C API that then people could use,
which you probably want anyway.
Yeah,
because it's useful for a bunch of stuff. Got it. And that'll make that easier to give us the FFI bindings, because we have that top level component is what you're thinking there.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the socket. It isn't like, okay, how do I get Quilkin to spin up this server and this admin server and like all the other stuff that's related to like how we want to run Quilkin as a binary versus
if you wanted to do some kind
networking stack,
deep integration type thing. If you were like, I want to include Quilkin as just a thing here, let me just grab a socket and like set it up that way, and that makes sense.
Yeah, and also just for like, if you are okay, I'm on the client side, I just want to send things through the opposite layer of how my thing works.
Yep, that makes sense, because that also gives a nice, like, I don't know, if you wanted to do something really weird, like set up 4 different Quilkin sockets inside a project using Quilkin as a library, then you could do something like that a lot easier.
Yeah, and like the other benefit of like this approach is it again unifies, it reduces a lot of code, because again it removes a lot of the message passing by having like essentially this one type that is automatically reference counted, but using this thing called arc swap, which is essentially atomically stored, but it's just always doing swaps for changes. And this is a lot easier one. It just removes all the async await calls and all the failure involved with that. But it also is introspective in the way that the message passaging is not. It's like you can very easily just query any type to be like, what is your state right now? So that just makes it a lot easier to make tests, because you don't have to set up a bunch of different channels to make sure that the communication works through properly and it goes through all the same stuff.
Gotcha. Seems reasonable.
Yeah, and that's just sort of related to PR cleanup. That is like all the sort of last PRs that I've done sort of within this past week have been
slowly
kind of related to that.
That makes sense.
Can I ask a stupid question? Since I'm not, is this when you run this as a sidecar in the Kubernetes class? Is this the code you suggested to change to? Where is that part running?
What do you mean, sorry? It'd be in that it'd be a lower level than that. It'd be sort of in the process. There is a Quilkin socket networking layer. Like, if you think of like UDP, there's just one layer on top of it that's Quilkin.
Okay.
That's essentially where it is running. Essentially, you would just use it. Like, the goal of this API would be that you'd use it exactly like a network socket, and then you don't have to worry about all the intricacies of Quilkin. You can just use it like it's regular UDP, but it's doing all a bunch of fancy stuff in the background.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
No, that makes sense. The only other, I'm just looking through here. The only other PR I did want to talk about as well was the moving the registry into public static.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to, you're in that. I'm just actually digging through it now because it's the first time I'm looking at it.
You want to go to the last commit because technically there's 3 commits, so Git will just show you way more than you need.
There's probably, is there other stuff in there? I don't know, there's only 1 commit in there as of 5 hours ago. So we've moved. So this moves the where are we? Actually, a little bit easier.
Oh, sorry. Did you mean the metrics registry or the filter registry?
Well, that's an interesting one. I was meaning filter registry. Okay. What I can do is actually just share this tab instead. I assume be in here somewhere. Nope, that's not the one. So I'll be honest, the thought of moving everything into a static global freaks me out a little. Just because that's a lot of shared state.
Mm-hmm. Well, like there's not shared state. This is like essentially the type registry. So this is only for filter factories that exist. This would essentially be for the defaults. And they only exist per type. They don't exist like per instance. Like, so there's the debug factory, and that's just located at the debug ID. So that's the only thing that exists.
Oh, okay. I totally misunderstood.
Every filter as a global instance. It's just like the types and how to create the types. So it'd be a very small, minimal impact. Like it's not, like it's kind of more like the metrics registry, where it's just like we're just storing the types in there. We're not storing.
Got it. Oh, okay, so it's this bit here. Got it. Right, because then, okay. I see. Yep. Okay. This is me being awake and also not looking at the code for a while. So basically, it's like when you start up, you're registering each of the actual types with the system.
Yeah, exactly. And then
that makes sense.
Choosing to register more types with it. So it's also a append only. So you can only add types right now.
Yep.
Like if someone has a need, but I think for right now we can just say, hey, you can only just add new types into it.
Yep. Okay. Here we go. Yeah. All right, that makes perfect sense. Okay. Cool. I think that's fine. Then there's. I'm just trying to think. There's no. I don't see it causing any. How does actually? This is a good question. Testing in Rust, we couldn't run into race conditions here with tests running at like the same time, because we have a couple of tests where like we throw in some like sort of stupid filters that do silly things so that it's easy to test.
Also no, because we're using the arc swap thing now with this as well. We're also removed. So there's shouldn't ever be a situation where there's ever contention anymore in Quilkin, like especially once all these changes are in. Because we're not using read write lock anymore. We're using arc swap, which essentially just means, like, if anyone's unfamiliar, like arc swap is essentially a very specialized version of the idea of having a read write lock that you always want to read a lot of times and want to write to maybe once in a while, like not that much.
Right.
So how it works is you just load and you always get a copy, or a view into a copy, actually, technically, but a copy of the data in a arc. and then when you store it, it just essentially swaps that arc with the new one. So anyone loading after that point will get the new version.
We'll get the new version.
So it does mean that like things in process would still hold on to like an old version of it, but that's fine because we are also assuming that anyway.
Yeah.
That you have like slightly old, that there's going to be things in flight while we're doing changes.
Got it. Cool. The only other thought I had there, but that sounds like that solves the same problem, is like when we eventually go down the path of dynamically bringing in filters, but it's the same thing. You would just arc swap out the old version would come
Yeah,
through.
it just like you can
Yeah.
look at in the PR. There's a register function that essentially lets you add ones, and that essentially works dynamically.
Yeah.
It will just clone out the current status, write the add them into the new set, and then write that to the new thing.
What happens if you are re-registering something you already have registered?
Right now, the newest one wins.
The newest one wins.
Right
That's
now,
fine.
just the newest one. But yeah, which I think is fine for now.
That seems fine. All right, that seems super cool. That makes a lot of sense. All right, I have a lot of review of stuff to do. Cool. That is good. Actually, I'll ask the question since you all are here as well. The basic alpha version of the UE4 plugin. I don't know Unreal, so if there's someone on your team who can just be like, come in and just be like, look good to me.
This is definitely, this is definitely working. This is pulled from working code that we then extracted. So this is already working. So yeah, this current version, but yeah, we'll definitely have to figure out someone to review it in the future.
Yeah, or just if you get someone just be like, look good to me. The only other thought was the only stuff I did was we need to Apache license all the stuff.
Oh yep. I'll do that.
And I'll chuck something in the book somewhere too. But that's also cool. All right, so just having a look. Oh, a thought I had this morning, which I was going to ask you to while I was sitting here. The documentation we have for creating a custom filter. I'm guessing that's out of date now because we've got the new JSON generate stuff. Or did you? I'm trying to remember. It might not be actually.
It might not be.
Because I think there's tests that check that because of the cool stuff.
Well, if it's not, it's just I think it's just one line. It's just add JSON schema. Oh, it is there.
It is there. It is there. Okay, cool. That was a show I thought I was having this morning. Cool. All right. Fun stuff.
Well, yeah, that is actually one thing I wanted to bring up, but I forgot. I should also just write an issue for it. Is after this management stuff, I want to go further with the config schema stuff. Because right now it is just it's just the config, it's just the schema in the JSON or in the YAML format that's just given straight to you. But it would kind of be nice if it was a table or something. Just a bit more styling than it is currently.
Having some output versions if you want it in like straight JSON or straight YAML or a table or that kind of stuff would be cool, especially.
I just even mean for. That's true, but I also just mean for the configuration options in the MD book, just so I have a especially pretty version for our documentation that's like much more easier to read. And then there's also the configuration that in just schema in case you just want to copy and paste it into some auto-generated thing.
Yeah, we had an issue. Or did we close it? I remember when Infinia and I had a conversation about like, is there a better way that we could be representing like JSON schemas?
Yeah.
I don't think we ever
I
think there.
Yeah, I think my hope is that it all ends up just being Rust. Everything is just a Rust struct and defined like that. Kind of like how it is right now for JSON schemas, but we also need to do it for protobuf. There is a couple of crates that are like, one's called auto proto, that are like, okay, sorry, the Serde of protobuf that lets you just have a Rust struct and maps it cleanly, which would be, and it would generate the protobuf actual file, not just the messages, so that you could actually share. We could just have that write to a file and have that automatically have one single source of truth.
That would be
which is the
super
Rust
nice.
struct. Yeah.
I didn't even know that existed. Yeah, we've had some chats about that sort of
It's
stuff.
it's very it's not. It's just very recent. Like the person hasn't like advertised so much. It's just me been like scouring the internet because this is the problem
how do I solve
I
this
hate
problem?
so much. Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks because we still have that whole double model thing, which is just icky.
Well, yeah, this is also one of the benefits of moving to this ArcSwap model for a lot of the backing storage stuff is it removes the idea of having two separate paths for like static and dynamic. Whereas this, like, by just having it always in an ArcSwap, it's just always ready to be changed, and like it's constantly live, so you can have it. You can just always have it be dynamic and always have dynamic changes to it.
Yep.
The difference of dynamic is now just spawning an XDS client rather than having to have whole separate code paths for everything.
That makes sense. Nice. Excellent. You are doing the things that I really wanted someone to do, which is take all my silly Rust code and make it better.
Happy to make it better.
Wonderful. That's all good. Well, hopefully I can return the favor as you write more Go code, and I can.
Yeah. I would definitely appreciate some guidance on that issue 486. Like, if you have any strong opinions of how to make it so, like, especially because like it's like a mix of Go and Kubernetes and knowledge that's needed. So it's like needing to
I need to dig into
from,
that.
yeah, just having like an XDS filter chain load from JSON essentially and go to.
There's gotta be.
I have a hacky way of doing it, but I would love to know better ways.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Like,
yeah, having it hard coded seems silly for sure.
Yeah, reading in JSON as a string, like the entire JSON thing as a pod annotation, and then sending that off everywhere. But that doesn't sound like the best.
No,
probably better to use like config map and stuff. But
actually, it's hard coded using these code filters. I think the actual answer is probably using a proto any object, and I'm pulling it down at runtime, much like what we do on the Rust side, and not have it hard coded. But can dig into that. I haven't dug into that too much, but that's I'll look into that. I'll have a peek and see if there's anything I can look at there. It's tricky, I think, is the short answer. But looking at how like Envoy does their XDS stuff, I'll go double check, but I'm fairly sure like all of their filter configs are just in any block, and so there's just like if you want to use them, go load these proto files up like on your own system as you're sending stuff, and then because then you can support them, and then just send that data through and convert it yourself.
Even in the configuration, like you would just have a blob of protobuf, or
I think so, because on our end, if we know what it is, because the type is just a string. This is going off the top of my head, and then the config is an any. And then I'm pretty sure on the Rust side, we literally do that. We pull it in, and then we just go, oh, it's this type.
Yeah. There's the type URL that we use to know where it is. Yeah, I'm just thinking about on the actual, the human readable level. Like, how do you say, okay, management server, here's the configuration I want you to give to all Quilkins.
I think what you'd need to do is,
or all envoys in this case.
Yeah. That is a good question. Let me have a look. I'll have a look. I've got guesses, but I don't want to speak to. I think it's not clean. I think you'd still. No, that's a tough one because on one hand, we're opinionated here, so we have to load in the proto files on the management server. On like someone has to load in those proto files in some capacity somewhere to get that configuration information for those filters.
But, well, this is what I've been thinking. Is like, does the management server have to know that stuff? Can't it be any, and can't the management server just forward it along to Quilkin and like it be Quilkin's problem?
It can, but it needs to know how to turn it into the right something for that. But actually, no, you're
I think
you're right
like,
in that.
yeah. There's there's like an envoy type called type listener. I don't know, or typed config rather. I think that might be just like, as long as it's within, as long as it has the at type plus all its configuration or whatever, should be able to accept that.
Yeah, because you're actually, no, I'm thinking about it, because our config, like in terms of the Rust side, it's our value object, right? So on both sides, yeah, we should look at what Envoy. I'll have a look at what Envoy does on the XDS side. But in theory, the config is really just like a potential map of values or an enum of values, right? That we should be able to standardize on. So we shouldn't need it. It should be able to take something like that.
We do have a specific config that's already kind of there. It's just there needs to be one point where there's like a type hole essentially that says like, okay, this cleanly accepts anything on the Go side as well.
Yeah, I'll have a look. That's a good question. I'm not sure what Envoy does there, but yeah, no, I think in the beginning it was like exactly the same thing. Like it's we have this hard coded and it's going to be a problem, but we punted it till later. I have a strong feeling you're exactly right. We'll end up with either something that exists in Envoy as a type system that they already have that we'll map across, or we'll have something similar on our own, which I think will still work for making sure we're compliant with XDS.
Yeah, this is also why I kind of wish this XDS manager was in Go, so it would just all be one type, and we wouldn't have to worry about sending it between different services. But after once all the features, it'll be a lot easier if that ever does happen to do it after we get these features in.
Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense. Okay. Just having a quick.
I'm gonna drop off. Thank you for today, and see you in a couple of weeks, or next week even. Some of you.
Yep.
Bye bye.
See ya. Bye bye.
Hey, Marcus. So having a quick look through the PRs that exist now, I think having most of them. It's the thing I like and also hate about feature-based releases. You're always like, oh, this new feature looks cool. We should put it in the release. Let's push the release back. Like,
I think we could technically release with just number 472. You just put out a release with that, and then save all the rest of the stuff for the next release. It's the second one from the bottom, or
this one here.
Pass and drop filters.
Yeah.
Because this kind of changes a lot of the stuff. Like it changes how the match works.
Yep.
Just because adding in pass and drop just made me realize like how much they were needed in a lot of places where like there were tests that were using drop, like essentially their own drop, and just even having like the way match works now, it's a lot cleaner in my opinion because it always just uses a filter. You can now just use pass and drop for the pass and drop behavior. We don't have to manually hard code that behavior in.
Yep. No, I agree with that.
But not like in terms of release, the other stuff can wait.
Yeah, it's all refactoring. I think that's a good call. Yep. Yep. All right. So you've done all that, and you just need to review the thing. All right. Looks like all the conflicts are also fixed, which I think you did as of 4 hours ago. Awesome. And you've added documentation. All right. Sweet. I will put that on my to-do list for today. Done now. Let's. I'll say that. So Only blocking PR for release. Jeez.
There might be actually 4A4. Depends on your mood. It's either or, but it is a breaking change, so you might want to group it, but it doesn't matter too much. It's just removing the word extensions, because all our filter IDs we just have extensions there, but now we just don't have that word there. So that could be.
Do you?
Also, that's simple.
Yeah.
I'll be around for like if you need to do the rebase or whatever. I'll be around.
Yeah,
for
there's a huge resolving of conflicts down here, which you can't see.
Damn.
It's tiny.
I'll fix that. I'll fix that after this call.
Yeah. But yeah, that sounds like let's see. Let's say let's give that a. Let me give that a nice to have. It seems like a good one.
Yeah. I'd say just make the release. Yeah, I have to do the rebase. Too much.
But I agree. That would be nice.
I was just trying to squeeze one more thing.
All right, that's it. I'm drawing a line.
Yeah.
There we go. Beautiful. I like it. All right. I got a screen that's slightly wider than the one that I had previously, so it's making everything really small. All right. So I've written that there. Excellent.
I think maybe one last thing. I was trying to say one thing, but there was someone who was talking about using Quilkin for like CS:GO servers.
Oh yeah.
One of the things that came up was they need to spawn like multiple servers at a time, because the traffic travels across like a range of ports, not just a single port. So I just wanted to ask, like, what is the opinion on allowing ranges of ports versus having a single port?
Traffic travels across a range of ports. So what is that? So like the traffic going to the game server will go from like, I don't know, 8,000 to 8,100 or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly. Like 1,000 to 1,015 or something. They marked like there's like 15 different ports, and like some of them are like for Steam specific services, and then some are the game service and stuff, but they all have to be accepted through that same port and go to the game server, even though they're for different services and stuff like that.
I have to look at the thread. I'm curious how that works. In theory, though, I guess. So we'd say something like, rather than having a single endpoint to send traffic to, you could have.
You would just have like a port range. You would just say from like that's what just I was thinking was like like 1,000 to 2,000. We would spawn. You could probably just sockets for each of those.
You could do like a range or a variety of singles. Like you might as well do the whole. Like you could be like 8,000 plus 7,000 to 7,100 plus 9,000 is reasons. And then
that's a good point. That's a good point for the configuration, like being able to specify not just a single range, but like a range plus like individual ports. That's a good point.
And then I guess probably our sessions would need to be sender receiver plus the local port would be part of the like identifying tuple of.
Would it matter?
Is
I'm guessing here, but I think CS:GO even uses like multiple ranges that doesn't really have to come after each other either. So multiple ranges can be.
I'd also be super curious about with CS:GO, like what are they using each port for?
I know they use a specific port range for matchmaking and HLTV, and they can also download content, which they do somehow separately. I don't know exactly how.
And then I guess like that going through Quilkin is probably an interesting question too.
Yeah, that is a good question. And then like the game client itself communicates on a port range to the server. So which I guess is what is interesting here. So maybe one range is enough.
But
yeah, I think that's. As long as people are okay with that, I think that's generally simple to support. Like, it would just involve having essentially a separate ingest loop that would be based on the configuration would spawn X sockets.
Yeah.
And then in our main thing, we would just have sort of one feed that is from all of those sockets. So we wouldn't even be aware of those receiving those sockets. Because I don't think...
We'll need to... Oh, no, we don't really... We might need to be aware of just making sure data goes back to where it started appropriately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think we can use like a single...
It's doable. We could do it.
Socket for that, like have one socket shared and have it just reused for each of those connections.
Yeah, it's doable. We just have to think it through.
Okay. Yeah. I'll make an issue for it.
Yeah,
it sounds good.
It reminds me of like when working with Agones, like there was a bunch of people who were like, okay, we want to use that to run Minecraft servers, and I was like, it's not really what it's built for, but I guess you can do it. And I guess it works. Cool. And a bunch of people do that at like scale, which is kind of funny and interesting and weird. But yeah, they have all kinds of weird proxying solutions and stuff for running that stuff at scale. It's kind of weird. Because Minecraft doesn't follow like the very traditional game server pattern. They store stuff on disk and like all that kind of stuff. It's
it's very hacky. It's all TCP as well. Because I did look into like, oh, can we use Quilkin with Minecraft? Because that would be a good,
nice
thing. But no, it uses TCP for everything. So no luck.
Actually, speaking of fun things, one of the games I've been wanting to port either to like into a demo project is what is it? I'm gonna spell it. I'm gonna pronounce it wrong. Valorant, the Rust like voxel game.
Oh, Valorant, the Rust. Oh, yeah. Okay, yes, the Rust game. Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
This one.
That's such a loaded term, like the Rust, because Rust is also a game.
That is true. This one, which is open source and like a
Valorant's game.
Yeah,
and Valorant. Yeah.
Valorant. Spell that properly. Seemed like a really fun one to turn into a demo project at some point.
That would definitely be cool
because it's cute and stuff. But they release so frequently. They're all like, just use nightly, it's fine. Which also makes things a little bit fun.
Yeah, I definitely, that is also something. Once the management server stuff is done, I definitely want to do improvements to the docs, and I want to go find a bunch of games that have UDP protocols that are already sort of done, that we can just have like cool demo projects using. Like, I think the one immediately comes to my mind is like Doom and Quake servers. Like that should be relatively simple and everything. Like you already have the one that does works for the Quake like. So
yeah, I've got that one. The other one I use SuperTuxCart a lot for Garnet stuff. That's another fun one. The nice thing about, which I still haven't used too much, with SuperTuxCart is you can spin up AI agents with it separately. So if you want to do like big load tests and stuff, it's a handy way of doing that.
Yeah, we're getting like sort of way off topic here, but like very tangentially even testing that would be good to figure out eventually, to see if there's like a way to have like proper load testing of an actual game running through Quilkin like as a test.
Yep.
Rather than just someone sitting in front of a game and testing to see if it works.
Yeah, we were been talking about doing that with SuperTuxCart for a while, because it plays like a real player. You don't have to build your own bot, which is kind of nice.
That's cool. We should just pay the OpenAI people to give us their CSGO bots.
There you go. I'll have a chat with some friends. Cool. That all seems good. Don't think I have anything else.
I don't have anything.
No, I'm just gonna look through. I still want to do that stuff around the ports. Do the better handling on Linux.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, again, on the stack of things to do. After management server is ECS. I would like to actually do that because I think especially like this current refactoring will make it a lot easier to move to ECS, where I'm even right now I kind of want ECS for doing like the session stuff where I'm like, I want to do like a partial match on one of these keys but not this other key and stuff like that.
I am curious to see how that affects performance as well, but also like especially with the refactorings you've done, it feels like the path through is cleaner now.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely the goal.
Yeah,
I think above all is like getting it clear so that it's very easy to use and very easy to contribute to.
Yeah,
and then improving the performance.
The other thought I was wondering is like I feel like if we wanted, one of the things on the list of things I really want to play with is so dynamically loading filters and having that stable interface.
Yeah.
Is ECS going to make that harder?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I was definitely unsure of that.
Yeah.
But then I did see I had a coworker who was using Bevy ECS through FFI, so it's definitely possible, at least with some, to do FFI based stuff.
Yep.
And that's all you need to do. That's all we need for a dynamic filter base.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, like worst comes to worst, I think. Like, yeah, I think I don't think there's, to be honest, I don't think there's any problem with ECS and dynamic filters. Like if anything, it does make it easier because ECS kind of assumes everything is dynamic anyway. Whereas
yeah,
like,
that's fair.
The thing we need is probably like an interface that is stable, that's not just type ID based for getting certain things from filters, because a filter that runs in WASM won't have the type IDs for like certain structs or anything like that. So it'll have to be like string types or some other like it could be
something simple.
Yeah, not string types, but I forget what the name of that, like intern types, where you get like an opaque ID. That's what I was thinking of, like an opaque ID that you can't actually read. Like it could just be a string, but as far as the filter is concerned, it's probably just the type ID. And then we could actually just use the type ID directly. So all the WASM just knows it's a opaque ID, and then we actually use the type ID for speed to get it out.
Okay, I think I follow.
That makes sense.
I was actually yeah, the stuff I'm thinking about is also like just like starting with the dynamic loading of the Rust code.
Well, yeah, well, I think like it's kind of why I'm like, I think most dynamic filters should probably be something that can compile to WASM. And if we have a WASM interface, then everything works. And so that works for Rust technically, because Rust compiles to WASM and stuff. And that handles the the security concerns, because it's all just WASM and it's all sandboxed.
See how that goes. I'm very curious to see what the performance impact of that will be.
At least from the initial WASM test, it was not bad. I think it'll be if there's any copies. I think that'll be the most thing. It's like, and that's where like, what's that called? The WASI interface is important for, or WABI, I think is now called, the WASM assembly binary interface. For having like, here's the data layout that we can directly copy into WebAssembly runtime with no additional copies.
I also wonder, like, is it, and we've chatted about this on issues as well, like, is it enough that rather than doing a full WASM interface, we just be like, okay, you can write Rust code to these external traits?
Oh, yeah, well, that's what I thought we were talking about. Is like, we would essentially have like a list of functions, like a header file, essentially. It's where it's like, here are the functions you can call inside a WASM filter, and here's the functions we will call on you. For example, like your read function and your write function. For calling that part of the filter.
Does that? But there's what was the project I was looking at a while ago? Let me see if I can find it now. There you go. This is the one I was talking about. Yeah. So rather than like the stable ABI, I haven't dug back into this again. Was specifically like building plugins in Rust rather than going the full WASM route. Probably worth exploring both and just see what happens.
It's definitely like, that's more like the issue with that is like, I just think it's it's less compatible because it requires both Rust and I'm pretty sure like a specific version of Rust.
Yeah, we should be sure about that. That's a definite
So
con
yeah,
for
like
sure.
it would make that would like it would be a simple interface, but it would be difficult to maintain, and because now upgrading Rust would be a breaking change, for example, for plugins.
Yeah, that is
So
that is a good point. That is a very good point.
So yeah,
I'm
if
gonna
we
play
want
with
to
it
go
and see what
stable,
happens.
like it might be fine, you know, whenever we actually hit 1.0 and are providing a guarantee, where we want to have a longer Rust compiler jumps anyway. But yeah, I think like that's just the reason why I'm like WASM is like, okay, anyone can write anything. They can write Rust, they can write TypeScript. You know, it doesn't require Rust to use it. Anyone can use it.
Yep. No, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah.
All right, I'll do a little exploration. I think it's interesting anyway. We'll see what happens. But that's a definite con. If that's definitely the case, then yeah, absolutely, that makes sense. I'd forgotten about the singular Rust version.
Well, yeah, at the very least, yeah. I forget how this stable API works, so it might have some tricks. But like Rust by default is only specific versions.
I'll have a look. Probably also worth having another look to see what the current state is.
No stable API, basically. I really wish there was a stable API. I think it's the biggest feature I want at the moment.
Yep.
It's never gonna happen.
One day. Maybe one day.
Yeah. 5 years or something. Way too long for anything to matter.
Cool. I'll play with this later. Oh, okay. Cool. Hi. This is Suki. She wants you to meet her. Very important. What she doesn't know is I have a meeting right after this again, so she's gonna be very sad. Cool. All right. Well, that all sounds like good stuff. All right. So we have 1.5 issues before I run the release. We'll probably run those soon, and I'll cut a release and get that going. Cool. I don't have anything else then. I'll stop rambling.
Yeah, sounds good to me. That's all. Talk to you next month. Or well, I'll talk to Simone and Rez later, but
yeah.
Talk to Mark.
Also,
yeah.
All right.
Sure.
Fantastic.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.